When Jesus had finished saying all these things, he said to his disciples, "As you know, the Passover is 2 days away, and the Son of Man will be handed over to be crucified." One of the 12, the one called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and asked, "What are you willing to give me if I deliver him to you?" So they counted out 30 pieces of silver. From then on, Judas watched for opportunity to hand him over. On the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Where do you want to make preparations for you to eat the Passover?" He replied, "Go to the city to a certain man and tell him, 'The teacher says, my appointment time is near. I am going to celebrate the Passover with my disciples at your house.'" So the disciples did as Jesus had directed them and prepared the Passover. When evening came, Jesus was reclining at the table with the 12. Then he said, "One of you will betray me." They were all very sad and said, "Surely not me, Lord." Jesus replied, "The one who has dipped his hand in the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written, but woe to the man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him not to have been born." So then Judas, the one who would betray him, said, "Surely don't mean me, Rabbi." Jesus answered, "You have said so." While they were eating, Jesus took bread, and then he gave thanks. He broke the bread and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Take and eat this. This is my body." And then he took a cup, and while giving thanks, he gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine until the day I drink it in the new with you in my Father's kingdom." And then they sang a hymn and went to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus told them, "This very night you will fall away on the account of me, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have risen, I'll go ahead of you into Galilee." Peter replied, "Even if I fall away on account of you, I will never." "Truly I tell you," Jesus answered, "this very night before the rooster crows, you'll disown me 3 times." But Peter declared, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you." And all the other disciples said the same. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here, I'll go over there and pray." He took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little further, he fell with his face on the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I, but as you will." When he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping, Couldn't you men keep watch with me for an hour?" He asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away the second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he went back, he found them sleeping again, because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed for the 3rd time, saying these same things. Then he turned to his disciples. "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hand of sinners. Rise, let us go. Come, here comes my betrayers." While he was still teaching, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd, armed with swords and clubs. sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. The one I kiss is the man, arrest him. Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus replied, "What do you come for, friend?" Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached out for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Put back your sword in its place," Jesus said to him, "for all who draw the sword die by sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled that they say it may happen in this way?" In that hour Jesus said to the crowd, "Am I leading a rebellion, that you may come with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I sat at the temple courts teaching, and you did not arrest me. But this has all taken place that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples of Jesus fled and deserted him. Now Peter was sitting in the courtyard, and a servant girl came up to him. "You were also with Jesus of Galilee," she said. But he denied it before them all. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. When he went out to the gateway, where another servant girl saw him, and said to the people there, "This fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth," he denied it again with an oath, "I don't know the man." A little while on, those standing there went up to Peter and said, "Surely you are one of those. Your accent gives you away." Then he came down cursing and swore to them, "I don't know the man." Immediately a rooster crowed, and Peter remembered the words Jesus had spoken, "Before the rooster crows, you'll disown me 3 times." And he went outside and wept bitterly. Meanwhile, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" "You have said so," Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony that they are bringing against you?" But Jesus made no reply, not even a single charge, to this great amazement of the governor. Now it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time there was a well-known prisoner whose name was Jesus Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them, "Which one do you want me to release, Jesus Barabbas or Jesus who is called the Messiah?" For he knew it was out of self-interest they had handed Jesus over to him. While Pilate was sitting in the judge's seat, his wife sent him this message: "Do not have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and the elders pursued the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. "Which one of the two do you want me to release to you?" the governor asked. "Barabbas," they answered. "What shall I do with Jesus who is called the Messiah?" Pilate asked. They all answered, "Crucify him." "Why? What crime has he committed?" asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, "Crucify him." While Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but he insisted, the uproar was starting. He took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I am innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It is your responsibility." All the people answered, "His blood is on us and our children." Then he released Barabbas to them, but he handed Jesus to be flogged and handed him over to be crucified. Then the governor's soldiers took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put on a scarlet robe on him, and twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They put a staff in his right hand. Then they knelt in front of him and mocking him. "Hail the King of the Jews," they said. They spat on him and took the staff and struck him on his head again and again. After they had mocked him, they took off his robe and put on his own clothes. Then they led him away to be crucified. As they were going out, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, and they forced him to carry the cross. They came to a place called Golgotha, which means place of skulls. There they offered Jesus wine to drink, mixed with gall, but after tasting it, he refused to drink it. When they crucified him, they divided his clothes by casting lots, and sitting down, they watched him there. Above his head placed the written charge against him: "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." 2 rebels were crucified with him, one on his right, one on his left. Those who passed by hurling insults at him, shaking their heads, saying, "If you are going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. Come down from the cross if you are the Son of God." In the same way, the chief priests, the teachers of the law, and the elders mocked him. "He saves others," they say, "but he can't save himself. If he's King of Israel, let him come down from the cross and we'll believe him. He trusts in God. Let God rescue him now if he wants him, for he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" In the same way, the rebels who were crucified with him also heaped insults on him. From until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over all the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of those standing there heard this, they said, "He's calling Elijah." Immediately one of them ran and got a sponge. He filled it with vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink. The rest said, "Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him." And then, when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook and the rocks split and the tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of their tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. When the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquakes and all that had happened, they were terrified and exclaimed, "Surely he was the Son of God." Many women were there watching from a distance. They had followed Jesus from Galilee to care for his needs. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. As evening approached, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who had himself become a disciple of Jesus. Going to Pilate, he asked for Jesus' body, and Pilate ordered that it may be given to him. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and placed it in his new tomb that he had cut out for him. He rolled a big stone in front of the entrance of the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary sat opposite the stone tomb. After the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for the angel of the Lord came down from heaven, and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were as white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him, they shook and became dead like dead men. The angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, he has risen, just as he has said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee, where you will meet him. Now I have told you." So the woman hurried away from the tomb, afraid, yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. They came to him, collapsed at his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." Guys, thank you for listening to this story. So this is an Easter story from Matthew. I hope you really felt like it inspired you, and he has risen.